Project Resolve is coming soon and is on a 20% buff to most LMGs has me more excited than a nun in a cucumber patch. So here are 3 awesome LMG builds that you must play once Project Resolve goes live. Sleipnir is a named LMG which comes with the talent Perfect Frenzy, a talent that has the potential to deliver the highest DPS in the game. Sleipnir is also Odin's horse and has 8 legs, and his mother was Loki.
You dirty, dirty man.
To create this build, I needed to solve 3 big issues. But you might be asking, how do you even get this weapon? Well, actually, you already have it, because Sleipnir is one of the 6 named blueprints you get from unlocking specializations. The way that the Perfect Frenzy talent works is pretty simple. For 5 seconds after you reload, your weapon damage and rate of fire are increased by 3% for every 8 bullets in your magazine. The base gun comes with 50 rounds, but with the gunner's large ammo pouch, this is boosted up to 100, resulting in a weapon damage and rate of fire buff of a whopping 37.5%. That is fucking awesome. The obvious gear set to use with this weapon is Strikers, which comes with a 15% rate of fire buff. With a combined 52.5% rate of fire buff, getting to max Strikers gamble stacks and its 65% amplified weapon damage will happen very quickly. Strikers also comes with 15% weapon handling, which is incredibly important for the build. More on that shortly. With the buff up, you can unload a full 100 round mag before the buff drops, so the potential is there to chain this back to back for incredible damage. But the first challenge to this is the long reload time of Sleipnir at a base of 5.6 seconds. So I needed to get this down significantly, but how to do it? Well, I came up with 2 ways that I could use for this. Firstly, by stacking reload speed, which you can find on the ongoing directive and Umbra gear sets, the Fenris brand set, and the tactical small pouch. I did experiment with this, but the DPS drop of this was pretty horrible, so that just left me with weapon handling. The Striker's gear set comes with 15% and I get 10% from Keena's watch. 2 pieces of the Petrov Defense brand set also provides a further 10%, which also gives me 10% LMG weapon damage buff, and given how strong the Contractor's gloves are, this looked like a strong option, but it still wasn't enough to make this build play how I wanted it to, until I stumbled on another best kept secret, the named Petrov chest piece. The chest piece is another crafted item which you get from unlocking the gunner specialization. It comes with the talent Perfect Brace, which increases my weapon handling by 50% when in cover. That is huge, which is apparently what Loki said. With the 85% reload speed buff, the reload speed of Sleipnir is reduced down from 5.6 seconds to only 3 seconds, which makes a huge difference in how the build plays. This does mean that I can't run a damage talent like Obliterate or Glass Cannon. For me, I prefer how the build plays with Perfect Brace, but if you prefer big damage and can manage a long reload time, try out one of those. This still left me with 2 challenges to overcome. One of the features of LMGs is their higher suppression value, which keeps enemies in cover, but this is a real problem when it happens just as I reload, leading to Perfect Frenzy being completely wasted. To counter this, I'm running a Banshee Pulse, which causes enemies to be disorientated and breaks them out of cover. I'm also running a decoy, which attracts enemies to it and quite often leaves them standing out in the open, letting me burn them down quickly, which leads me on to the final challenge I face with the build: survivability. Strikers is, in my opinion, the best pure DPS in the game, but it has no survivability mechanic. On top of that, you can't use a shield with an LMG. What I needed to find was a way to repair armor when in combat, and the best way I found to do this was to use the Ninja Bite backpack. This meant that I could run 3 pieces of Strikers, mask, holster and knee pads, and still unlock Strikers Gamble. 1 piece of Petrov Defend, the named chest piece. The final piece of gear that solved my survivability challenge is 1 piece of Bellstone Armory. This gives me 1% armor regen and, along with the gunner specialization, 20% armor on kill. So this solved the survivability issue for me, but it does mean that there is no room for Contractor's gloves. If you fancy going big dick with the build, or if you're running in a group, then throw these on along with 4 pieces of Strikers, Obliterate on the chest, and you have the ultimate boss killer. With Project Resolve, Sleipnir will be getting a 20% weapon damage buff, which is going to make this build very strong. On top of that, the Petrov Defense 2-piece bonus is also getting a small buff, but let's have a look at a build that will be getting some huge buffs when Project Resolve goes live. Want a gun with more than 400 rounds in the mag, or an SMG with nearly 90 rounds that hits really hard. All this with 4 defensive cores, 4 offensive cores, and 2 utility cores for a great all-round build. And while the Ninja Bike backpack makes this possible, it is the 2 pieces of the True Patriot gear set and 2 pieces of Brazos that delivers it. The Brazos Beccarios holster also comes with 3 cores. Contractor's gloves are perfect for this build with their LMG damage to armor, and weapon handling, which is great when using LMGs. With this and its unique muzzle, the Stoner Lang LMG is an absolute laser. The large pouch which you get from the gunner specialization maximizes the magazine on this weapon. There is no need for any magazine buffs to the SMG I'm using. Cold relations. This gun already comes with a large magazine, and it is rolled with an additional 12.5% magazine attribute. While this alone makes this gun great for the build, the best synergy comes from its talent, Perfect Strained. This talent delivers an additional 80% critical hit damage when firing for 4 seconds, which with this much ammo, you can certainly do. For the same reason I rolled Strained onto the Stoner Lang. To get the most out of this talent, I am looking to get my critical hit chance as close to the cap as possible. With 4 critical hit chance attributes and 1 mod, I've got my critical hit chance to the 6% cap on Cold Relations and 50% on the Stoner Lang. This high critical hit chance also synergizes with the talent on my chest piece, Obliterate, which delivers an additional 25% weapon damage buff. Every other attribute and mod can be put into critical hit damage, albeit I do have 1 armor regen on my chest piece, which is actually quite useful to have. When fully optimized and at max stacks, this build will be running 130% critical hit damage on the Stoner Lang and 170% on Cold Relations, letting me put out some awesome sustained DPS. This is a build where using cover and a Crusader shield is necessary. Now, I mentioned the Project Resolve is going to be seriously buffing this build. And it is. Not only is this LMG receiving a 20% weapon damage buff, but the Brazos gear set bonus is also getting a huge buff to 50% magazine size. And that means I no longer need to use the True Patriot gear set at all, and can instead add better DPS pieces. One piece of Heartbreaker, for example, will add 15% LMG damage. The Fox's Prayer knee pads will add damage to targets out of cover, and one piece of Walker Harris will add weapon damage to armor, and another critical hit damage attribute. There are plenty of options to make this build into an overpowered beast. The final LMG build is my spin on a classic that with Project Resolve will be awesome. The Bullet King should be the Godroll LMG that we all want to use. It comes with the talent Bullet Hell, which constantly refreshes its mag without touching ammo reserves. It has the fastest RPM of any LMG archetype. It looks fucking awesome, but pick up this gun and fire and it is more disappointing than running into a wall with a boner and breaking your nose, because this gun is cursed with such low accuracy and stability that hitting 100 shots at anything other than point blank range is impossible unless you stack a ton of weapon handling, in which case reload times would be minimal anyway. With this build though, I have unlimited ammo, no reloads, fast RPM, great accuracy and stability, and great DPS. So how did I fix Bullet King? Well, the DPS comes from the Striker gear set, mask, holster, knee pads, and of course the backpack, which adds 35% amplified damage and is essential in any Striker's build. Contractor's gloves comes with LMG damage and 8% damage to armor. A Seska chest piece helps to get critical hit chance to 59% to make the most out of the talent Obliterate. But the question remains, how did I fix Bullet King? And the simple answer is, by not using it, because I'm using this badly rolled GR9 with a talent Steady Handed, which similar to Bullet Hell refills my magazine after 100 hits. The GR9 comes with great base stability and accuracy, but hitting enemies with it turns it into a laser as accuracy and stability increases. Even if your aim is a bit wonky, with 250 rounds in the magazine, activating the talent should not be a problem. I like to run this build with a Crusader shield and an SMG as backup. You might be wondering why, given that you can't use a shield with an LMG. Well, equipping the shield also automatically equips the SMG, which with a Striker's build hits like a truck, making it a great defensive play when at close range. I am also using a Reinforcer Chem launcher. Using an LMG inevitably means you're going to be exposed and take some damage at times, so having some healing is advisable. The gunner specialization also works great with the build for its armor on kill and rate of fire fire buff, but it's not essential. This is an LMG build that you can have some fun with, and with a 20% weapon damage buff from Project Resolve, it is going to be a monster. And if you want to try out another classic exotic LMG build, then check out this Pestilence one here.